Oh, Foxy, it's your birthday. Not for real, just for play. This is Cree Summer, and Moana Nui will be right back.
What bird did you let in my house? Good evening, everybody. A random moth that is the size of a bird just flew past. Like, what is happening here? It is wonderful to see you. It is wonderful to be with you on this wonderful August, almost September evening. I am Shae Reigns, Shae for some of you, Shae Reigns for others. Uh, your resident mental health professional, and we are joined by the illustrious
Hi.
Jordan White.
Hello. I'm Jordan White. I'm a mindset coach, so I help you specialize in your mind, getting it focused, and just changing from your old perspective to your new perspective.
Love it. Perspective shifts, all about that. And tonight we are talking about happiness. Not not a destination, but it kind of just happens. And of course, I'm your host, and I want to get started just by asking Jordan, how do you define happiness, especially when you're talking to clients?
When I'm talking to clients, especially with happiness, I get their perspective, what they would like for them to be happy in their lives. Because most of the time, we each have our own perspective of happiness. So one could be just having a time off of work, or another person could be just having that moment where they could take a bubble bath or something. But I just start with redefining the client and then moving forward, if that kind of makes sense.
Sure, definitely makes sense. And when we're talking about moving forward, coming back to the idea, there've been so many memes and those little infographics and all about what happy is and what happiness isn't. And a lot of times we don't remember, I guess, that happiness is actually an intensely personal experience.
Yes.
Um, there are so many times when you would want to say, "Oh, I'm happy," but then you have that interruption. And it's like, am I allowed to be happy even though I'm mad? Can I be happy with you and still be mad with you at the same time? And most of the time, we tend to choose the anger or we choose the sad, not knowing that both things can exist at the same time. If they can, because happiness, as our title for this evening's show, it just happens. It is a thing that it's not something that we have to pursue, so to speak, like, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's a thing that just happens, especially when you let it, regardless of the definition. Um, because if happiness for you is, like you said, that opportunity to take a bath, um, who am I to tell you that, nah, that's not happy enough? That's not a legitimate definition of
Yes.
happy, right? Who am I? Like, am I living your life?
Exactly.
Um, and so, and I just got a really weird image in my mind, like trying to chase a bathtub. Like, like the pursuit of
Yes.
happiness. I am going to chase this bathtub until I can jump in it and the water and bubbles magically appear in there because I have to chase it. Whereas no, it's there and the bathtub is home and I can just walk through the door and get that.
Yes.
No need to chase it. It's there waiting for you. And for my uh, folks out there who are unhoused, because I don't want to be insensitive, your definition of happiness, whatever that might be, is also valid. for those of you who are unhoused, maybe, um, and for the sake of this conversation, um, unhoused includes couch hopping and uh, cousin lending. Whether that happiness is I got to sleep through the night today, or I got to have a full meal today. Like, this is a moment of happiness. That is valid too.
Yes.
Just because you are in a struggle doesn't mean that you're not allowed to still be happy.
Exactly. I think that's where many people don't, like, they think they, like what you said, they have to have a stereotypical sense of happiness. And they feel like even if it's like them just getting food for that day, it's they feel like it's not good enough because they're comparing themselves to the next person.
Right. Um, Comparison is a great way to lose happy.
Yes. Is the
That is
thief
a
of
great way
joy.
to lose happy. That's right. Um, in this world of social media, and you tell me, because you out there coaching folks and whatnot, into their happiness. Um, in my experience, especially in helping children and families, or in helping the formerly or actively unhoused, um, it's like you need a permission slip for happy. Like, I'm not allowed to be happy because um, this kid is going through it, or I'm not allowed to be happy because my mom um, took my phone. There's this thing in the universe right now that has even me, as nerdly and liberal as I am, like, okay, so we're just gonna set all the phones on fire and see where that goes. We're gonna throw them off a cliff and see if we can still find this magical happy land, because for some reason I got kids and adults. Hello, Miss Porter. I got kids and adults who seem to not be able to recognize that happy does not require this piece of technology in your hand and in your face, um, in order to be able to be happy. Sometimes trauma in our lives keep us from going to that happy place, so we have to go through healing. Amen,
Yes.
Winston. Absolutely, and especially for people who I'm working with, that trauma, it can totally get in the way. What's your
Yes.
experience?
I've had to deal with both, like I don't, I'm not trying to feel like how to phrase it, the offender and then the person that it's happened to. I've had to deal with it from a counseling standpoint and from a mindset coach standpoint. So I understand both worlds, and it's kind of just like something my pastors have always told me is hurt people will hurt people, and heal people will see what that person's going through and understand it. But you can't help somebody when you're in a hurt place. So you have to heal yourself first from that trauma, from those post-traumatic stress that you've encountered, because sometimes those flashbacks or that sound triggers them to go back to that place. And just understanding your triggers and the different things that you've been through. I know that's really big in the things I've been through, with a lot of different walks of life,
Yeah.
and especially for myself, I've been through that with domestic violence as well, so I understand what it's like to go through those things.
um, Definitely. The other saying is, healed people feel people,
Mm.
because when you find that healing, you find yourself more able to be empathetic. When you're out of that place of hurt, you're more able to see other people's pain and
Yes,
empathize with it. So it's
exactly.
like, what's that saying about being able to see the forest for the trees? Um, like, you are in the middle of the thing. And so all you can see is trees, but somebody who's out of it can be like, I see trees because there's a forest.
Hmm.
Hi,
So like
Althea.
kind of like being in the eye of the storm, but not being able to see the outside picture.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so when you are healed, you are more able to feel the people, not necessarily where you're seeing or feeling exactly what they feel, because that's not how that works, right? We can acknowledge that everybody's experience is different. Um, but it's one of those things that we have to acknowledge is it's a thing. When you are at the worst of your pain, and emotional pain is different, right? Um,
Yes.
if you stub your toe for that first 5 seconds, there is nothing that is more important to you than, oh my God, I think my toe is going to fall off. Something just bit it off. What is happening? And then you look and it's just like, oh, I stubbed my toe on the corner of the coffee table again. Let me move this damn thing out the way so I don't do this. And then you forget. Right?
Yes.
Emotional pain is, I am in this. I don't know what I'm doing. Everything is awful. And you never forget.
Yes. It's you
There's
always
there's
remember
a
those moments.
That's right. You never forget. And your subconscious is always looking for those moments to be like, hey, we experienced this before, run. Or shut it down,
Yes.
or put that person out of your life, put up the walls, put up the moat, let's get the dragons in here because we do not want to go back to that place again, right? You can forget to move the coffee table and hit your toe on that coffee table every day and forget the level of pain that you experience, but that emotional pain will stick with you forever, ever.
Yes. Forever.
The only thing worse than stubbing your toe and the emotional pain is stepping on a Lego.
Oh yes. Yes,
that
that is
that
true.
that pain stays with you as well, but yeah. And so it's so important to be able to recognize that even though you've gone through that pain, right, we don't want to let avoiding the pain keep us from recognizing when happiness is actually happening. And that is the
Yes.
thing. um Sorry, I had a thought and
No,
now
you're
I'm
good.
trying to word my thought more appropriately, um, because it was full of more expletives than I expected my brain to do. Um,
You're
so,
good.
um, talking about, we've done a show or two about trauma bonds, and we've talked about narcissistic personalities and dealing with gaslighting and things like that. And so it is one of those things that has to be recognized in terms of a human experience, of the things that can get in the way, sorry, of progress. Um, the bullshit of things. There's, I can't come up with a nicer way to put it. Apparently I have a really large vocabulary of curse words. So in addition to regular old English. But yes, the bullshit of things that can get in the way. Piles of it, mounds of it, bags of it, buckets of it, um, that get in the way of being able to recognize when happiness is happening. Um, and when we take that saying of hurt people, you know, and we look at people with the narcissism or the gaslighters, like you said, the perpetrators of
Yes.
the hurt, right? Not to say that being hurt gives you a permission slip to hurt others. It's just a thing that happens, just like
Yes.
happiness. And the bullshit that they are wading through will keep them from being able to recognize their own happiness, but it makes it really easy to recognize someone else's.
Yes.
And when hurt people are recognizing other people's happiness, um, they get in the way, and they want to stop it, and they want to gaslight you into believing that that's not real. If
Yes.
this is like a romantic relationship, they want you to believe that the only way you can experience happiness is through them, right? Um,
Exactly.
it's one of those things that you want to be like, I'm sorry, so many curse words. So when the shit hits the fan, they are the fan from which the shit spreads.
It just keeps going round and round.
It just keeps going, and I'm so sorry to laugh because I'm laughing at myself because I'm apparently I'm on one right now. I'm trying really hard to not just be the foul mouth therapist today. Um, but that's what it is. Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Exactly.
It is similar to Misery Loves Company, says Jalethea. Um, and what's really, really hard is, especially when you're being gaslit, you can't recognize, oh, this is just someone who's miserable trying to keep me in their space so that they can feel miserable but not alone.
Yes.
Right? When
Okay.
you're coaching people, um, how do you help them navigate the shit? I'm gonna just put it like that.
We always go back to the root. So like even though this is happening, what is you like pinpoint the emotion and where did it come from? You go back to that experience and it's kind of like they have to in a way relive it, but they have to break down to get a breakthrough. Because if they don't get that broken down, you don't get through that breakthrough moment, through that triumphant moment, through that moment where you're like, oh my goodness, this happened. It's okay that this happened, but I'm not a victim anymore. Because they often want to still associate themselves as a victim in the place that they're at, because they feel like this happened to me, I remain here, but you don't remain here. You go past that moment, and that's the thing. People have to go past that mindset of where they were because they're still traveling with that mindset when they got hurt or when they had that trauma, because your mindset gets stuck there. And even though you got abused at 20, your mind stuck at that 20-year-old place, like what just happened to me.
Sorry, my nod is not a sound.
No, you're good. I
Like,
understand the counseling nod. It's the universal counseling nod.
um, yes, that part, like high key, that part. It's so much of where we need to go and how we need to grow through it. I don't, I never, okay, no, let's not use extreme language. I prefer to not use the, the term get over it. Not professionally,
Yes.
not personally, because that is not a thing. That is a thing. Um, Once upon a time, they made me read a book called "The Body Keeps the Score."
I
Um,
have that book over here. Sorry,
okay,
that's my book.
right. That's the thing. Like that's like therapy and empathy 101, because there's no such thing as getting over trauma. There's no such thing as getting over um, that thing that happened to you that was not happiness. Um,
Yes.
it's it's a necessary part of acknowledging that a thing happened to you, and then being able to grow through it, being able to mature and recognize that, you know, for my domestic violence, the folks out there, um, it wasn't your fault. For my survivors of rape and incest and molestation, um, that wasn't your fault. And
Exactly.
you will forever remember these things And anybody who tells you to get over it, first of all, send them my way. Hands are rated E for everybody. Um, and since we're not going to choose violence every time,
Mhm.
also take a moment to remember and accept that there are people out there who are willing to stand up for you, who are willing to hear you, who are willing to support you through growing through what you were going through.
Yes.
You know, professionals like me, and of course, like Jordan here, um, that's what we do. That is the calling, right? To help you get through these things that were done so that you can recognize when happiness is happening and give yourself permission to actually experience it and not be afraid that allowing yourself to experience happiness um, because it's Tuesday or any other day that ends in Y.
Yes.
Happiness doesn't have to just be for the special occasions and then you go back into your corner where you're a quote unquote victim. You get to be a survivor because yes, you might still be in pain, but you're still here. And every day that you're still here is another day that you have the opportunity to grow through and then glow through it. Now you
Yes.
get your shine. Now you get to help someone else get through. Now you get to, prove to the person who hurt you that they did not stop you, that
Exactly.
they didn't dim you permanently.
Mm. I
It
like
is
that.
it's a thing that's why there are so many people on this planet, because it takes all kinds and we have to be able to support each other through the unfortunateness so that we can actually recognize when happiness is happening.
Yes.
Althea
Like we
says, when you realize it's okay to not be okay, then we can deal with it. Amen.
yes.
How do you um, help people to get to the glow up?
We have a lot. Well, I have a lot of different like techniques. Like like to use. Some of them are not orthodox. I'm not going to say that they are, but one of my favorite exercises, because many people don't think of it as like helping, but it really does if you write it down and you tear it up, because it's like you're destroying what you have set in your mind. Because once it's out of your subconscious and you write it down, you can destroy that and you don't have to sit there and plant that thought over and over and over again. You're like reprogramming your brain to have those new neurons. So that's helping you think in a different pattern, and that's going to help you move forward. And especially like in the morning, I brain dump. I love that because everything I'm thinking I write on a piece of paper, because I'm not about to think about that all day long, because my brain's gonna be like, did I put the spaghetti in the fridge at like 2 o'clock in the morning? Like, I need to go to bed. Like, I can't do that. But brain
So
dumping
real.
helps them so much. Like, those techniques, just those two, are one of my favorite ones I love to use.
I am also a fan of the brain dump, especially for my folks who are living with anxiety. Um,
Yes.
the brain dump, especially um, if you're one of those people who has to have the phone, turn on that note app. Okay. If
Yes.
your anxiety is keeping you up at night, um, or waking you up out of your sleep,
Mhm.
and instead of scrolling through TikTok or whatever, giving your brain more fuel to work on, by the way,
Mhm. Exactly.
put it all out there. Not necessarily out there into the interwebs, but at least write yourself a note. And however long that note has to be, um, you will find that once you get it out and away from, I call it the person on the forklift.
Okay.
Um, do we know? Anybody who doesn't know what a forklift is, Google is a thing. Have fun. Um, I use the imagery of a person on a forklift living in your head. That's your subconscious. And what their job is to basically drive around organizing your mental boxes. because every second, every millisecond, every moment of every day, you are experiencing life. And your subconscious is there sorting through the life that you're experiencing. And it's a bumpy ride up in there. So they're like this the whole time, driving up to boxes, picking up boxes with the forklift, moving them around, organizing things. And they're nervous and shaking and driving horribly. Um, People with PTSD, trauma, and anxiety and depression, what happens with their little person on a forklift is they're constantly tripping over the same boxes.
Yes.
And then they have to get out of their forklift and go put the stuff back in the box, deal with the stuff that came out of the box, and then put it back where it's supposed to be. And then they try to get back in the forklift, and then something happens that knocks it over again.
Yes.
Okay. And so they have to do it all over again. That's what PTSD is. That's what trauma is. That's what anxiety is that you are constantly dealing with the same thing over and over and over.
It's
Yeah. Dear Self is another great tool. And so doing the brain dump or doing the writing exercises to get the stuff out of your head,
yes.
or in this case, away from the little person in your head with the forklift so they can stop tripping over it.
Exactly. Just, and like you said, especially with like anxiety and having PTSD, like keeping a notebook of your emotions. Like if you're having a bad day, write it down. Like just write everything down that you ever wanted to say and just be like, even if you want to draw, like some people do, like have a sketchbook that they draw out their emotions. Just getting it out so it's not inside you brewing and brewing. So the next minute somebody makes you mad, you just pop. You need it out.
Right. Or your person with the forklift completely runs over that box, and now they have decimated the box so they can't put the stuff back in the box, and now they're just like, oh my god, what am I going to do? I don't know
Yes.
why I just did like that voice.
No,
I
you're
don't know where that
just,
came from. Whatever, we gonna work with it. And so Mrs. Doubtfire is now living in your head
mhm.
and trying to figure out what to do with your mental boxes. um
Yes.
it's like I also use the mental image of an internal castle, right? That's what I was talking about a few minutes ago when I was just like, let the moat down, bring out the dragons, right? Because your mind is like a castle, right? And you've got all these rooms and all these spaces and windows and all that. But in order for anybody to be invited into your space, they got to get past the rabid pit bulls and the dragon and the moat with the sea monster in it and like the weird looking human eating pigs from Silence of the Lambs, like all of that. Like they got to get past all of that just to be able to knock on your door and be like, "Hey, I'm here for you."
Yes.
Right? Hey,
Because
you
you're
want to
so
come out so we can go do some happiness stuff.
exactly. Because you're used to people gaslighting you and making you feel some type of way about your emotions because you tell them something, they use it against you. So you're like, I don't know if I can trust this person. You're automatically on that fight or flight mode. You're like, I don't know. We about to see if this works again. But you're not. You're categorizing them like the last person. Like that person's gonna do this again.
And we don't know that
Exactly.
because we can't tell the future and we don't live in other people's heads. We only live in our own. And by the way, other people have their own castles and moats and dragons. And one of my clients once told me that they had a room full of bees. I'm like, wow, okay. If someone just so happens to accidentally come across this room, they will get stung to death by the killer bees in her mind. I get some really, really vivid clients sometimes. Um, and I'm just like, okay, we don't want to kill the bees because that's not cool. But can we, I don't know, give them like one of those beekeeper things so that they could be
Yeah.
happy bees or something? Like, let's work on building that. Because her thing was she was saying that she has no problem with people walking in, they just have to be willing to deal with all the booby traps inside the castle, which I was like, wow, at least you
Hmm.
know yourself, right?
Yes.
And it's so important to be able to know yourself and to know where your hard stops are, that was weird. To know where your hard stops are, to know
Mhm.
where your killer bees are, to know what room has, um, you know, the final destination thing where you're going to randomly die because you tripped over a seed. Like, like the different kinds of security that you have in your little safe space, because
Yes.
all of that was meant to protect that inner child who is holding on to that childlike happy for dear life.
Hmm. Exactly.
So important to be able to recognize those things, to recognize those elements of life, of experience, so that we can honor our entire selves, not just our external, but even the clumsy miniature you on the forklift, and your killer bees, and your dogs, and the human eating pigs. Like, honor all of yourselves, all the elements that make you you. Everything that makes you feel safe, especially because those are the elements that you're going to share with those people who you can trust. Um,
Yes.
Whether that's your therapist or your bestie, you're going to share those elements with them so that they can have some, they can provide some assistance with managing all of those other elements of what makes you safe or what helps you feel safe.
Mm.
And there's happiness in safety, by the way.
There is. Being able to talk to that person knowing they're not going to share it with the whole world. Like, just them, just having that confidence that you can talk to somebody, because some people don't have that person they can talk to. They sit there and just talk to themselves, basically, because they feel like that's the only person they can trust. I know I've dealt with that a lot. People just feeling like I can't share that with anybody. No one's going to understand. No one's going to believe me. But it's like getting past, like you said, that trauma and getting over that hurdle. Because it's kind of like a toddler with chocolate on their hands or running around touching everything, and you're just trying to be like, hold up, like please stop touching everything, and you're just trying to contain it. Like, let me contain you,
Like,
please.
no! Yeah. Um, that is a really good image.
Yes,
I love imagery, because it makes things so much more relatable for people. Um,
it does.
what is other than or in addition to, um, the brain dump and journaling? What is another tool that you use maybe to help people, um, acknowledge they're happy?
I have them write on one side kind of like the emotion that they're experiencing and then how they would want to feel. So then they're thinking like this emotion and this, but they also are able to see two different sides, because when you're looking at one point of view, you're like, okay, I'm upset right now, but this is where I would like to be. And just kind of getting that goal to where you want to be and not where you're at, because they're thinking so much in their experiences like now. And I want them to move past that. I want them to write down their goals. What would they like in life? Just even doing an exercise, like do an activity you've always wanted to do. Like, I believe one person was like, I want to go back to being a child. And I was like, okay, what's something that made you happy? They're like, blowing bubbles. I said, then go get a thing of bubbles from Dollar Tree, blow some bubbles. Go out there to the park and blow the biggest amount of bubbles. You'll have tons of kids running around you, popping the bubbles, and you're all happy. You're going to see that joy. But just doing the things that make you happy. Like, even if it's something really simple. Like, I always have them do that simple thing. Even if you feel like it seems really ridiculous, if you want to take off your shoes and jump in a puddle, go jump in a puddle. Like, it's your feet and you like that feeling, do it. Like, there's nothing that's too small. I always tell them, don't dull their shine because somebody else can't see it. Like, there's no use for that anymore, because you're bigger than what you ever think you are. Because you're not this little small person. You're this mighty, like a mighty warrior, and you're getting ready to go to battle. And you're about to battle all these different thoughts. But you're going to win, because you always will win. And I always remember that God always has me. So I always, like, even the people, they talk about how God has them. And I'm like, there's nothing you can't do. Like, you can do this, because he's gangster too. Just like you're willing to go up and bat, he's willing to go bat for you. You go out there and bat and do what you got to do. If that that's how I
Absolutely.
kind of make it work.
Absolutely. And Moana just put our quote up there, and I kind of want to like add to that. Not just even if it makes you feel ridiculous, but especially if it makes you feel ridiculous. Because when you are
Yeah,
feeling ridiculous, the laughter, the natural laughter that comes from doing something that feels ridiculous, it just makes it so much better. It's like
it
I'm gonna
does.
go outside and I'm gonna play in the rain, and um, I'm gonna be wet and I'm gonna be cold, but I'm going to reenact that old scene from that black and white movie, Singing in the Rain, and dance
Yes.
outside and have people looking out their window like, what is happening to this person? Let me call. Let me. I'm in Atlanta, and they have mental health crisis units with the
Hmm.
police. I'm gonna call somebody. We need a 1013 out here.
And
You
you
know,
just out there happy,
just happy, just
yes,
happy. Um, those guilty pleasures. I want us to get rid of the term guilty pleasures because saying guilty means that it's something that's wrong.
yes,
Um,
exactly.
let's make it something positive. Um, for me, I no longer have guilty pleasures. I just have pleasures. I
Yes,
know it's pretty simple, but if you have to do something else, if you have to add to it to replace the guilt part of it, do you. For me, all I have to
yes,
do was just erase that front part, and now it's just my pleasures. Now, I'm going to play that song with Duval and Snoop Dogg at like the highest level possible, rolling through some of my clients' neighborhoods, and have the neighbors looking at me like, "Who is this hood chick?" Yes, um, yes, that is what we are doing today with my lime green hair. Okay, like
yes.
that's
Like,
what we doing today. I am going to go out there and randomly dance down the aisles of Publix because that's what I feel like doing.
yes,
Right? I am going to
completely.
sing out loud while I am in TJ Maxx with my mom across the store because sometimes the songs that they are playing in the TJ Maxx, they hit.
They do though. Even at like Joe V's. Like Joe V's has some good songs. Me and my husband will be like in the aisle. We'll just break it down. Me and the kids, all of us would start dancing. Everyone's like, "What is going
What
on?"
is
I'm
going
like,
on?
we just having fun now." Like,
Right. And I don't know who told or who made the rule that being a grown up meant that you were no longer allowed to enjoy life. But they
exactly.
lied, right? And don't get me wrong, half the time I am definitely on Amazon talking about I'd like to know how to return this adulting. 100% would not recommend. Take this back and I want a refund. Like that is totally me half the time, but the other half of the time I am chilling watching my anime and trying to figure out whether or not I'm going to go to Dragon Con this weekend. Like literally the conversation we were having in pre-production. Like this is also a part of the thing. Life takes all
Yes,
the things and happiness happens, and even in the smallest moments, um, it's so great to be able to just appreciate that was kind of cool that I could do that. That I
exactly.
had the freedom in that moment to dance in a very awkward way down the Publix aisle with the spices, right?
Yes,
Why do we have to be bored and miserable just because we're adults?
yes, exactly. You're allowed to have fun.
As a matter of fact, because you're a grown up, you literally get to sign your own permission slip to go on a field trip, do something. Oh,
Yes.
and since we're here and I said the thing, please vote in November. Kamala Harris for 2024. Wait, no. Is that how that goes? 2024? Yes. So just dropping that out there because I said do something, and my former first lady said do something. So there we go. That was my plug. I did my job for the night. But yeah, we're at day like 65, guys. Please vote. But no, it's so important that we can find the joy and that we can find the
Yes.
happiness and allow ourselves to recognize when something happy is happening. When we are able to walk our dog and watch that derpy little dude do weird stuff and roll over, and maybe we want to get on the floor and roll over too, like I don't know, but whatever it takes for you to be able to have a moment of happiness that just happened so organically that you can log that in your memory books to, you know,
Yes.
tell the nieces and nephews tomorrow, not when you're old and gray, but like no, tomorrow, because how you
Exactly.
experience those happy moments is also going to be how you teach other people to experience happy.
No,
um
that's exactly it.
Black boy joy was a thing and a hashtag because well, one of many things, it was said that black men aren't allowed to smile because it was a sign of weakness. um Fuck that. High key, all the way.
I
Be
remember my
happy.
brother saying that.
Yeah, be happy. Experience your joy and then share it with the world. Because some of y'all have some really great smiles. Some of y'all, maybe not so much, but smile anyway, right?
Yes.
Because your joy is infectious. And rather than spreading the misery and the sadness and the unfortunateness of life, why not share the joy? Damn right. Thank you.
Like,
Smiling is not weakness. Um,
like,
it is a thing that we get to share. And unfortunately, for some reason in society, we have been told that we're supposed to hold on to it and be greedy about it and hide it and hoard it and not share that, right?
yes.
And we have to do the other thing too, because the world requires balance. It is so difficult. I'm going to repeat myself. So difficult to be able to recognize when happiness is happening if you are stuck in that unhappy place.
Mm,
So take a moment to share some of that burden of unhappiness with whoever you need to share it with so that you can make space in your life for the happiness to happen. If your
exactly.
life is like a bottle, do I have a bottle? This is my vitamin water cup, y'all. Okay. Your life is this bottle. If this bottle was full of unhappiness, there wouldn't be space to actually be able to put the happiness in. So you got to pour some of it out.
Hmm.
Share some of it, right? I'm not saying necessarily spread some of it around, but I'm saying share some of it. Let someone else help you carry it so that way you can have space to put some happiness in the cup. And then the magical thing about happiness happening is that happiness can actually override the other stuff sometimes. You ever laughed so hard you forgot what you were mad about?
Oh, yes.
What you
That's
mean, am
just,
I allowed? I can talk
yes.
about Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Nazareth.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And
That
that
is
right there, like what she said, will get you through some healing times, like where you feel like you couldn't get through, where you felt like you were just gonna cry, you felt like you couldn't go on another day, but it's like a different sense of joy and a different sense of peace that surpasses like anything you could, like it's just it's so tremendous. I don't even know how to describe it. But yeah, he just brings you like he'll bring you so many different things that you didn't even think that were possible, but you're like you had to get past that spot where you were. You had to go those steps because if you imagine like if you're climbing stairs and you're at the bottom stair and you try to climb up to the top without taking the steps, you're gonna fall flat on your face and be like, what just happened? But those steps are needed to get to your next level. Because if I go from here all the way up there, it ain't gonna make any sense at all. You're just gonna fall. So you
That
might as
part.
well apply the steps to get to the level instead of having to be confused why you keep falling back down. Because I don't have time to fall 16 times down the stairs. I'm not doing that. That make no sense at all.
Your happiness should be so contagious that it keeps haunting the next person to make them even happier and encourage them. I'm editing all I read because I hear you, Winston. I like what you have to say.
Yes.
Yes, be that kind of an outbreak monkey, right? For
Yes.
those of y'all who remember the 12, that was the name of the movie, right? 12 Monkeys. Be that kind, and
Yes.
and be that kind of infectious person. Let that laugh, let that smile, let that joy, let that crazy sense of humor be the thing that energizes everyone around you. Um, there's that science thing where energy is never lost, it's only transferred. What kind of energy do you want to transfer today? What's your 50% of the equation of that interaction? One of the things that I share um, fairly frequently is, well, when I used to post more frequently on social media, it's my 50% of every interaction is um, to put in the effort or not put in the effort to make sure that my 50% of the interaction is a pleasant one. So I'm not
Yes.
going to be the one who goes into the store and gives the checkout person attitude because I didn't find what I wanted. I'm going to be the one who sees that person, the checkout person, or the person who is having who seems to be having a rough day, and I'm going to say something like, um, "Did somebody mess? Did somebody mess with you today? Do, do, do I need to cut a bitch?" um, I swear that usually gets the laughter going. It has to be somebody has to be having a really rough day. It's only been like one time where I only got like the small chuckle, and I feel like in that moment they were like, "Yes, as a matter of fact, please do." It's that bitch over there. Like that's what I imagined was going through their head. Why I only got like the small, like low chuckle, because they actually wanted me to cut somebody, but didn't want to tell me. um, but otherwise, or I'll ask the server when they're like, "Is there something I can, anything else I can bring you?" And I'm like, "Yes, I would like the biggest, sloppiest bag of money that you can find, please." And most of the time, I get that brief pause of, "Is she serious?" And then I get the response of, "Yeah, girl, me too." like, you know, like make your 50% of the interaction a pleasant one. Make like even if you're having a bad day,
Yes.
right? You're having a bad day or you're having what you think is a bad life because you might wake up that morning and you're like, "F my life," right?
Mhm.
Go somewhere and say something to someone to make them feel great and see how
Exactly.
just by doing that you get infected by your own pay it forward moment.
Exactly. Giving that person that one compliment, like just something simple, it's free. And they don't like you could even be like, "Oh my gosh, where'd you get those shoes? Because my big feet, I can't find shoes. Where'd you get those?" They'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
"Excuse me?" Like, "Yeah, I got them here." But it just makes them have that second look like somebody is paying attention to them. Or somebody's not having a good day and they're not smiling. Just like you said, make them smile. It doesn't take anything out of you.
Without
You
being
just
creepy. I'm
yes,
sorry,
without being
just
creepy.
don't be a creep. Don't do that weird thing where you like, yo mom, yo mom,
No,
you
no,
looking
please
real.
do not.
Why you looking so angry for? 2024, we don't have to do that anymore. Okay, we've grown out of that, sirs, ma'ams, days. Okay, we don't got to do that. um, we can just say something funny and move on with life, recognizing that we are not entitled to anybody else's happiness, but we should be a part of making sure that our neighbor, our brother, our sister, our cousin, our auntie, our uncles have a moment of happy.
Yes. That's it right
Um,
there.
that is the 50% project. For those of you who remember when I used to say the 50% project, that's what it's all about. It's just about making your 50% of an interaction a pleasant one, letting someone else carry that moment of happiness with them, even if they seem to forget it. Their inner forklift person is going to trip over that box one day.
Mhm. People always
Um,
remember that kindness that was given. They're gonna be like, this person showed me kindness, so I need to like. It just keeps going like a chain, like you said. Like they just go on to the next person. Now that person is telling the next person like something that they needed that day, and it's just a whole contagious chain of like just happiness.
and it costs
But
you
if
nothing.
exactly, because if you say that one negative comment, that goes to the next person because they're mad that you said that, and then it goes ruins other people's days, like when it wasn't even necessary.
That part. Um, we are at 6 minutes left to the show, and I want to make sure that we get a good, um, I guess, I don't know, soundbite kind of thing. Share with us your favorite thought or your favorite moment that always brings you a smile. Tell us a story.
Um, I think it would probably have to be with my brother. My brother would could always make me laugh no matter what. Cause I would always be making something in the kitchen and be like, "Okay, Betty Crocker, you in there cooking again? You don't even need the cookbook no more." Or he'd say, "How people work in the deodorant aisle be funky and they don't smell themselves, but they be in the deodorant aisle." And I'll be like, "Robert, stop." And he's like, "But I got you to laugh." And I'll be like, "You doing too much." But it's
Oh,
just
shit.
something he would always share, and I was just like, he can make anybody laugh, and that's what I love. Just that contagiousness that he had. But that, like you said, like you just like thought about it, you were like, but it makes you laugh.
Yeah, that was funny. Um, deodorant was pretty funny. I'm sorry. That's hilarious. Got a little tear going. Um, tell the nice people where they can find you.
They can find me on TikTok. I think my name's the Quirky Queen Shop, but I also the Mindset Reset Queen. But you can find me on TikTok as that, or Instagram. I'm the Mindset Reset Queen, and same thing on Facebook.
Okay. And of course, you can find me pretty much on all the platforms. Although I admit that I have not posted on social media for real in a super extra everlastingly long time. Um, but I am Reign O Change, REIGNO Change, because I'm always about that change. Um, on whichever one of the platforms you're looking for. So, what's that? You can find me as that on TikTok. You can find me on that as that on Instagram, Snapchat, uh, Facebook, of course. Um, did I get all of them? Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. Yeah, all of them. Rain or change. But anyway, this has been wonderful. It has been wonderful talking with you and sharing these thoughts and having this moment of happiness happen.
Yes.
Um, how about we end this segment with your final thought on happiness?
My final thought, like my final thought would be let God take care of it. You don't need to take care of that situation and punch that person in the face. Let God take care of it. He'll take care of you.
Let God take care of it. Let go and let God. Do not choose violence today.
Yes.
As my cousin used to say, don't be an asshole every day of your life. Um, this has been Rain Talks. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will.
If this the land of the free, it was a freedom then, when they annexed Hawaii and called it Cedar Lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves the Republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language is banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand, yeah.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.
So if we put Hawaii into perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course. Cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom. Clap back at the system.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.